Our next story. Human rights groups have criticised the Ethiopian government for continuing to detain protesters, opposition leaders and journalists following the killing of a popular musician last month. At least 9,000 people have been arrested since the murder of Hachalu Hundessa, which sparked days of violent protests and the deaths of nearly 300 people. The report says some of those arrested haven't been accounted for, whilst hundreds more have had no formal charges brought against them. Among those detained is the Kenyan journalist Yasin Juma, despite courts ordering his release last week. The BBC's Emmanuel Igunza reports.
Asha Mohammed hasn't heard from her husband Yasin Juma for over 6 weeks. He's been held in police custody since July. His arrest followed days of violent protests sparked by the murder of popular Oromo musician Hachalu Hundessa, who was shot by unknown assailants while driving in the capital. Police have continued to detain him despite court orders to release him on bail.
We are all in shock, traumatized, we are terrified, we are afraid of everything. I don't know what they are up to. We fail to understand what their intentions towards him.
Lawyers representing Juma have confirmed to the BBC that he's contracted COVID-19 while in detention. He's currently in isolation, but there's been little information on whether he's receiving medical care. Relatives and lawyers of those who have been released informed Human Rights Watch that there have been several cases of detainees and security guards falling ill with the virus. Juma's lawyers hope the court will uphold the ruling on his bail release.
In cases of this kind, because of the vastness of the criminal investigation that's being conducted by the police, there might be some problems, but I hope that the court will give him justice.
And he's not alone. Authorities say at least 9,000 people have been arrested during the unrest over the singer's killing. Hachalu was a vocal activist of the plight of the Oromo, who are the largest ethnic community in Ethiopia. He was seen by many as giving voice to their protests against political and economic marginalization. Those currently in detention include dozens of opposition members and journalists, some of whom are being held without charge.
The danger here is that we have the sort of politicized prosecutions that occurred under the EPRDF government, when the evidence presented against opposition leaders was quite weak, and the laws were quite draconian, and so the prosecutions were perceived as highly political. And that's a danger here, but we have to wait and see how these trials unfold.
Since coming to power 2 years ago, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has instituted wide-ranging political and economic reforms meant to democratize the country. But recent violence, protests and arrests have raised concerns for the future of Ethiopia. Emmanuel Igunza, BBC News.
Now, the community of Amtwalume on KwaZulu-Natal